It's Wednesday, September 19th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, we welcome back Cape Cod Community College President John Cox, and we meet the new school committee member, Barbara Dunn. Here's some news that you can use. 'Tis the season for construction. There are a slew of road construction projects getting underway this week or ramping back up after the summer break. Starting today in Marston's Mills, roadway improvements to Mystic Drive, and those will continue through October 5th. Over in Osterville, roadway improvements on Pond Street in Osterville will be ongoing through Friday, September 28th, and the intersection at Route 28 and Beers' Way expect detours this Thursday and Friday. And if you can just avoid that area altogether, as state crews work on that intersection. As always, we remind you to slow down and be mindful when in construction zones for your safety and the construction crews. A new academic year at Cape Cod Community College brings excitement, new opportunities, and new programs. Dr. John Cox, president of the college, joined us in studio to talk about the initiatives this year. Welcome back to school. With me today, president of Cape Cod Community College, John Cox. John, everybody's back in school. Classes are in session. There's lots of activity on the campus.
It's a great time. We have resumed the fall semester. We're running at full throttle, so to speak, and we're looking forward to a delightful academic year. Lots of new activities going on, sort of a refresh to the campus itself with some work that occurred over the summer. And the extra lift of hearing from the state and the administration's commitment to a new science and engineering building.
That is just really amazing news. So let's talk a little bit about that because, you know, there's so much focus on STEM, science, technology, engineering, art. I always say art and math, but right. STEM. And the college really was a proponent of trying to get some of these classes into the campus, but the buildings just weren't designed for it.
Well, we're still basically dealing with the original building that was constructed back in 1970, and very limited to the modifications that we can do with it given the what it's built out of and how it's laid out. So we did do a study about 3 years ago with the state, and the conclusion was that it would be better to build new and replace the existing structure. And we have been working with the state over the course of, actually it probably goes back more than a decade now, right, in putting this proposal through to get the funding for a new science and engineering building. About a $38 million project, $25 million committed from the state. That'll take us through the design planning stage, through the construction. So we're looking at about a 3.5-year project, and working with our college educational foundation, there will be a fundraising capital campaign that'll be tied into this so that we can raise the additional funds that are necessary to really enable this investment to carry our students into the next generation of being STEM or STEAM graduates. Right.
And let's talk a little bit about what some of the college's focus of that STEM or STEAM is. You know, a building is a building, but we're preparing the future folks for jobs.
Right, and I would agree that the building is the building, and it's really our faculty who make it what it is and who enable the success of our students. So as we look at what we're designing around, one of the overarching themes is what we call modularity. We want to lay out a building that over time, as technology changes, we can adapt to that without having to make major changes in the physical structure of the building. So it minimizes the long-term cost of the facility. If we look at some of the latest work of our STEM network and how the network ties in with area employers in the STEM fields, we work with our K-12 partners, some other four-year institutions, and other organizations on the Cape. It becomes the alignment of how can we better meet the needs of the folks that are here, enabling success for our students who graduate, and also opening the possibility to students who may not otherwise consider opportunities in the STEM fields, that they can gain exposure through the facilities, through the courses that we're able to offer.
That's fantastic.
It
Long
truly
time
is.
coming. You know, I've been a proponent myself of that new building and STEM in general, and I've sat on the advisory board for the STEM network, and it's just amazing news that students at 4Cs can at least explore something now.
It's truly an exciting time, an exciting opportunity, and we're looking forward to pushing this along to the next realm as we get underway with design.
And you have so many exciting things happening at the college. You know, we have a list of things to talk about today, and it's like, oh, which one do I want to do next? But really, one of the incredible success stories of Cape Cod Community College in a recent 2 years is you have filled the avionics program this year. It's got a waiting list.
The aviation maintenance technology program, we're getting to that critical mass consistently with every cohort. We continue to offer the program. It's a certificate or a degree program in airframe and power plant. And we've also received funding this year of $100,000 to put toward the startup of avionics. So we're moving ahead with a business plan to pull that off as well. But our students, our first 2 cohorts have graduated. They're in various stages of completing their FAA certification, but more importantly, they're out there, they're building their careers in the aviation industry, and we're talking about some serious recruiting that's been going on. Very impressive, and our students are bound for a successful career in the industry.
Right, and I don't know if all residents really understand that this is really well-paying jobs. I mean, really well-paying jobs, and they're local to our region.
That's correct.
Or the national or the world. I mean,
you can take this education and go anywhere in the world with it, and you can use it to build on to other aspects of the industry. And we have our graduates are tied in here locally at Cape Air. They're up at Logan Airport with the carriers that are working out of there. They're also on the West Coast. The recruiting is literally, it's national. They show up at our facilities. It's a really competitive event, and they're definitely after our graduates. So it's an exciting time for the college.
Yeah, and it's a great facility too. I had visited it during the ribbon cutting, and it's just a really cool simulations. The whole painting simulation thing.
It's how we prepare our students for their careers they're choosing.
Right. That's great. Now, there's something new. You and I had talked about it. We weren't ready to go public with it, but you are getting a program from a college that is no longer, and it's ready to be announced.
We have worked with the folks at Mount Ida College and the University of Massachusetts. As Mount Ida was closing, we became engaged in the effort on how do we help the students that are in the funeral service program that basically at the closure of the institution had nowhere to go. And there aren't many institutions that offer similar programs. We did step up to the plate, so to speak, in April. We've run a very aggressive effort over the course of the summer. We received the Department of Higher Education approval and the specialty accreditors approval for funeral service to do a teach-out program that will actually start in October for the funeral service degree, and this would be for the associate's degree, tying directly into a career path to become a funeral director. And through our partnership, with the folks at Bridgewater State University, the program will physically be located on the campus at Bridgewater State. In part, we're trying to mimic some of what the Mount Ida students had. They'll have the opportunity to take advantage of residence life right there on the campus, but also offering a more cost-effective method to attain the degree. Now, along the way, we've also recently found out that another school in Connecticut is closing that offers a similar program in mortuary science, so we have reached out to that institution as well as the Board of Higher Ed to see if we can include them in the teach out as well. So we're trying to be nimble with the industry. We're definitely in discussions with our the funeral directors both across the Cape and even at the state level to address those needs going forward. So there's critical need for this educational area.
Right, and it's somewhat divergent here, but it comes together as aviation and funeral services both in dire need of people.
Yes.
On
Yes.
every
and
facet of it.
You know, fundamental mission of the community college is how do we continue to look at, analyze what's happening in our community, where the needs are within the region, and how do we address those needs in as timely a manner as possible. And this is what we've been doing.
Right. So when we look at the college as a whole, you know, there's so many programs that Four Cs offers now. These
Right.
two new ones, obviously. What's the campus like now? Because there's so many different divergent. I mean, community college is a melting pot, right?
It is. It's and it's a matter of both engaging and working with the students. If we look at our core group of students and the demands, what they're taking, we are still fundamentally working with students that are moving along to take care of their general education requirements as they prepare to transfer on to four-year schools. Right. But at the same time, we have a large number who are gaining experience in various fields. They'll take either their certificate or their degree, and they'll enter the job market as well. Yeah. But there's other nuances with what we offer. The Commonwealth Commitment, for example, the ability for students to begin their college career at Cape Cod Community College with a commitment. If they maintain their grade levels, they can get a 10% rebate every semester to apply to the next semester's tuition and fees. And when they transfer to one of the Massachusetts public higher education institutions, that commitment will continue. So you can literally push down even more on the total cost of the bachelor's degree through some of the offerings and through the alignments that we have with degree programs with the 29 institutions across Massachusetts higher ed. The other point I would make is that over the course of the summer, we've done a number of refresh programs. We've gone into the Grossman Commons. It's been brightened up. There's been new lighting. There's been some, if you remember the flags in there, we've standardized the size of the flags. It's really sharp looking. It's a brighter area. There's been some work on the landscaping as well. So we're continuing to nurture that along. And there's also some additional funding from the state that we'll be using to improve some of the entrance ways and to make the campus more welcoming to those that may have accessibility challenges.
Right. It's an exciting time for Cape Cod Community College.
It is an extremely exciting time, and we're very fortunate for the commitment of the state to enable us to move ahead and really for positioning the college for future generations of folks here in the region.
Excellent. Much success, John.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
New school committee member Barbara Dunn has received her first committee assignment and is excited to talk about the Innovation School Model. With me today in studio, Barbara Dunn, school committee member. We're going to talk about community partnerships and possibly a new innovation school in the Barnstable Public School District. Welcome, Barbara.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
So let's start a little bit. You're the new kid on the block, I guess you could say. So how are you finding your seat at the school committee?
I'm enjoying it very much. It's obviously a big learning curve, a lot to learn, but the committee's been great in helping me jump on board, and I think it's feeling really good to have a teacher's voice on the board to bring that perspective, which is mainly why I pursued it. So far I love it, yeah.
Excellent. So you were a former educator. Tell our viewers at home where you were a teacher.
For many years, most of my teaching career, I was at Osterville Bay School. And then when that closed in 2008, I moved over. The fourth grades were all moved into Barnstable United. And I taught there for several years. I retired a year ago. My last 3 years of teaching were teaching in the Gateway program at Barnstable United.
And you just couldn't get away from education, could you?
Exactly, exactly.
Well, the school committee is really lucky to have your voice there as a teacher, and you just got one of your first committee assignments.
I did. I'm going to be involved with the Innovation School. There's a working group right now at the school, and they're in the process of building a stakeholders group who will then be involved with next steps moving forward to create an innovation school.
Okay, so the innovation school will sort of morph from where the charter school was. It's got a little bit more, so talk about innovation school. There's a little more oversight locally to that. What is an
Correct.
innovation school?
So the innovation school is very similar to the charter school model. However, the main difference is that the oversight stays local, as you said. The school committee, along with the guidance of the superintendent, will approve the application as that goes through the process. And then after that, the evaluation and oversight stays with the superintendent and school committee. That's the main difference.
Okay, and how does an innovation school differ from just, say, a standard elementary school?
So through the application process, as the stakeholders group goes through the steps, they have the opportunity to identify autonomies, things that they would like to do in a unique way from what every other public school is doing.
Okay.
They have the opportunity to have more voice in their own curriculum, their budget, the school calendar, professional development, staffing, all of that. The key is that as they identify areas that they want autonomies in, they also have to make the correlation to how that's going to impact student learning and school performance.
Okay, and what kind of experience does folks with innovation schools, are there many of those on the Cape here, or is this something new?
There's a couple in Dennis, Yarmouth. I'm not totally familiar with what else is going on, but I'm aware of that. I believe there's 57 in the state. I think I looked to see about that, so I think it's growing as the population of charter schools is changing. I think it's a great option for places that were charter schools that maybe are no longer but still want to have more voice in their school.
All right. So when you talk about curriculum and things of that nature with a school and that autonomy, so they're able to develop different units than the straight elementary, say you're going to learn about Thanksgiving, because that's
Right.
a difference?
Right. I think the key is that every school has to base their academics on the standards that the state puts
Okay.
out, but how they accomplish that can vary.
Okay.
So an innovation school has the opportunity to maybe use a different math program, math resource. Those are all tools to deliver the standards, and they have the opportunity to maybe try something unique as they would like to do.
So we'll talk a little bit about standards and testing. So they follow those same things, the MCAS and
Correct.
stuff like that too?
Their accountability is the same as all public schools in terms of being accountable to the state. That stays the same.
And the local accountability, what happens, is it obviously the superintendent, but the school committee has some oversight as well, like they do for our
Correct.
normal public schools?
Right. So when they create this application and state what areas they want autonomies in, they will also set measurable annual goals. And so the superintendent will do an annual evaluation looking at those measurable goals and seeing how they're doing in that area. And the application, the time frame is 5 years, and then they can apply after the 5 years for an extension. And each time it will be looked at as to how they're doing.
Right. So this particular school is a first for Barnstable Public Schools?
Correct.
And you formed a committee. So what is that committee actually going to do?
So we have our first meeting the end of this month. I will be the liaison from the school committee, helping to develop the application, giving any input I might have, and then I will bring back information to the school committee when we meet to share how that process is playing out. There will be a principal in the district, the superintendent, 2 teachers, a parent, myself, and then I think it can be up to 11 people on the stakeholders group, who will all have input in deciding. I'm guessing, anticipating that some of the unique initiatives that the charter school has going, they'll want to continue. They have enrichment clusters and things like that are very, very successful and well-liked. And we haven't met yet, but I'm anticipating they'll want to continue some of those. There may be some new ideas that come up.
Okay. What do you want parents to know about this possible change to their school, and how can they maybe educate themselves on the differences of the 2 schools and maybe perhaps a path forward with this innovation school?
Well, first of all, I'll say that anytime we meet, it's public meeting.
Okay.
So if parents want to learn more, a great way to do it would to find out when the meetings are, and they're welcome to be listening in on what's going on at that meeting. It's an open meeting to the public. The Department of Education website has quite a bit of information on innovation schools in general, and that's another place to just have a better, deeper understanding of innovation schools. So I think parents that are anticipating the changes that might be coming, who are very tied to the charter school model, should know that there may not be as many changes as they think they're going to be. That the school, I know the school committee and the superintendent are really happy with what's been going on at the charter school, and they've been doing a great job. Their initiatives are wonderful. Their scores have been strong. No one that I'm aware of wants to change all those great things they're doing. So a lot will stay the same.
Okay, that's great news for parents and for folks that were a little having some trepidation about this change.
Exactly.
And that brings up community as a large. Partnerships. Why are community partnerships important to schools?
Well, I'm, as I had mentioned to you earlier, starting on another committee that one of the district's strategic goals is to build community partnerships. Years ago when I was teaching, community connections were more loose. They weren't structured. It was a parent would come in, a professional would come in. The goal now is to better structure it so all the schools in the district are having equal opportunity for community connections. And I believe when a student has someone from the community come in, whatever the topic is, to hear it directly from the source is the best kind of learning opportunity. I think same for educators. It feels like supportive and a great learning opportunity to have people that are out there in the trenches of whatever the topic is. And I think for the community members to be invested in the schools. We're all interconnected in one way or another, and I think the more community connections there are, the more investment in the student population there is, the more resources, the more understanding for why monies are being spent a certain way, which is obviously a concern for residents. So I think it's an all positive aspect to tie community partnerships.
Right. And community partnerships, let's kind of take this. So it's not just the high school student looking for an internship, is it? It really goes right down into the pre-K level.
Absolutely. Whether it's oftentimes because of logistics, it's bringing people into the schools. But now we're really trying to tie more to the curriculum and the standards rather than just random people coming in. And as I mentioned, it's a great learning tool that's not opening a math book, it's bringing someone in. And it's also connecting with more reach, it doesn't just have to be at the high school that students get out into the community. And I think the sooner kids are involved with how a community functions and works in the professional world, the better building blocks that's going to be for their future. And the schools now, it's all about career readiness.
Right. One last question is, how can people get involved if they want to be a community partner?
Well, I have an email. I would think I'm the perfect resource because I am chairing this new committee.
Great.
So I have the same email that's district-wide, the Barnstable District email. And if people want to contact me for reaching out, I'd absolutely be thrilled to hear from them. Our committee's pretty flexible. We have people coming to just one meeting, many meetings, some people that are just offering to be a resource without necessarily attending meetings. So if there's interest, absolutely.
It's kind of like back where, take your daughter to work kind of thing. I can remember doing that as a kid and having my whole second grade class go to the Air Force, the Air Guard base. My dad was fire chief there.
Oh, really?
It was,
yeah.
I think one of the highlights of second grade was to go, yeah, that's my dad's truck.
And where do you see the most enthusiasm from
Right.
kids when they're doing hands-on, whether it's material or people, when they're out there outside of the typical daily classroom experience, that's where you see such excitement about learning.
Anything else you want our viewers to know about school committee and the path forward here from 2019?
Well, I think as for myself and for the committee, we're very much looking forward to helping the charter school transition to obviously there's a process. Sure. And we don't know where that'll end up, but in anticipation that it will go forward, I think we're very excited to give the charter school a lot of support in making this transition, however it plays out. And I think within the district, that's obviously a huge piece of the change going on is the innovation school, and who knows where that will lead for other schools down the road. But for the immediate, I think that's the highlight.
Excellent. Thanks so much for joining us, Barbara.
Thank you. I've enjoyed chatting.
Here's a look at the community calendar. Cape Cod Hospital and Falmouth Hospital are in urgent need of blood donations. The hospitals must have at least 1 week's worth of blood on hand at all times. Since each unit collected or purchased will only last between 35 to 42 days, it is a constant challenge to maintain sufficient supply. Numerous blood drives are being held across Cape Cod in September to benefit Cape Cod Healthcare. The majority of them will be held in the Cape Cod Healthcare Bloodmobile, which is located in the parking lot of sponsoring businesses and organizations. All blood collected at CCHC Blood Drive stays on Cape Cod to help our families, friends, and neighbors. You can help this week on September 21st from 12 noon to 6 p.m. at the Revival Presbyterian Church, 90 Hinckley Road, Hyannis. Here's a look at this week's meeting schedule for boards, commissions, and committees. Comments, suggestions, accolades? Connect with us on Facebook and Instagram, email us, or send us an old-fashioned note by carrier pigeon. Channel 18 works for you. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.